Hi there and welcome back to my channel. This is Sean, the Honest Book Reviewer, with another book review. In this video, we're discussing Daisy Darker, written by Alice Feeney. This is an amazing book. I can't say enough about this book to describe how great it is. It's a mystery. It's a gothic mystery in feel. It's set in a house, well, it's set in a few rooms in a house basically, on this island that's cut off from the mainland with the tide. So it's a very small footprint, but the author uses that space so well. Everything about this book is just wonderful. It's a very dark book at times and very challenging at times as well, but also a book that's also filled with wonder. So I don't know how the author made that balance in the story, but it works. Characters in this story, the scenes, the mystery, the setting, everything is so well described and so well created in this story. I think this is an almost perfect book, almost perfect, because how can any book ever be truly perfect? But if a book could be truly perfect, this would be very close. So in this story, there's a family gathering of sorts going on for Daisy and her family, and it seems to be centered around her grandmother's 80th birthday. Why? Because her grandmother was told by a fortune teller that when she turned 80, that she would die. So she's having a birthday to celebrate her last birthday on Earth basically with her family, but also to tell her family about her will and what they're getting out of her will. So all the family arrives, including Daisy. They all arrive and most of the family is hungry, hungry for money, hungry to see what they're going to get. And when they're told about the will, what they're getting, they're all disappointed apart from one or two people. And that's exciting in the story because you just see their reactions and you get their characters, what they're like in the story from those reactions. And to be honest, most of the people in the family feel just awful characters. They feel like awful people basically. And that's in how they're described, the way they speak, the way they carry themselves, the way they interact with each other, their bit of their history as well. That's described so well in the story, and the characters feel so real and lifelike, and they feel so three-dimensional in this book. They're all wonderful and engaging characters, even though most of the characters are unlikable. Soon after that will is read, Grandma is found dead. And then there's this kind of dark and mysterious poem written on a blackboard in the room, because Grandma is a children's author, and in one room she has a blackboard where she writes ideas and kind of jots out the plot or the plan for stories. So on that blackboard is a dark poem, and it's about all the characters in the family. And the lines about Grandma are crossed out, so they're there on the board, but there's a line through them. And it feels very sinister. It's almost like here's a list of possible victims, but here's the first victims crossed out, and any of you are next. That's the feeling you get when you see that poem on that blackboard. So the rest of the family, including Daisy, are trapped in this house, and they're cut off from the mainland, no way to get across. And storming outside, a huge storm, there's no phone reception, the landline's been cut off for quite a few months, there's no cell phone reception, so there's no way to contact help. They're trapped in this house with each other and a potential killer. So what could go wrong? Well, many things can go wrong in this story. I'm not going to go and explain anything else in this plot. I'll just say from that moment on, it becomes an even more exciting and engaging story. This book is written so well. I adore the structure of this story and the writing style. It just feels effortless when you read it. It feels so detailed, so inventive as well in the story. It just feels like everything is almost perfect. The way things are described, the way characters move in the story, the way the action moves and the scenes move, everything is done so well and so carefully. With books like this, sometimes I just wonder how long the author took to just write the scenes and then edit them. How much of that author is invested in that story. And it feels like this book is just so well thought out and so well planned and plotted. It feels like the author took a lot of care to design everything in this book, all the elements, before even writing a single word. So the voice of Daisy, who's the narrator of this story, is just amazing. It drags you into the story, it hooks you into the story. And in this book, I was hooked from the first chapter, because that first chapter is interesting, it's intriguing, it feels mysterious as well. So Daisy as a whole in this book is just sublime, and I think one of the best characters I've read in fiction for this year anyway. The mystery in this story, who's killed Grandma, and then other things go on in the book as well. That whole mystery is so well crafted because it keeps you guessing, and it keeps you guessing about every character in this book, and I mean every character, including Daisy, because even though Daisy's the narrator in this story, is Daisy the killer? We don't know, because other people think she could be. It's very interesting in this book that every character, including the narrator, who's meant to be trustworthy and who does come across as trustworthy in her voice in the story, could be the one who's guilty. So I enjoyed that in this book. That mystery is so well crafted, and it feels like a mystery that you don't get very often. You don't get mysteries that often where the main voice in the story feels like they're a suspect as well. I've read a few books like that, and whenever I see that in a story, it seems like those other books have also been great reads for me. So I just like the way it's crafted. It's very clever, and I wonder how hard that is to do. I think it would be very hard to create this main voice and narrator, to make the narrator seem trustworthy to the reader, but also as a suspect to other characters in the story. For Daisy, our main character, this whole book rests on her point of view and her voice in the story. There is so much expressed in her voice, so much emotion, and if you don't get that right in the story, this book would fail. So great work by the author to get that balance right with this character and to make the character so engaging and so compelling in this book that her voice is just perfect in my view. Everything about this character feels perfect, and it's hard to say perfect with a book because how can a book be completely perfect? But this element in the story, this character, does feel perfect. So Gran in this book, her character feels eccentric, feels a bit complex, but very compelling and intriguing. And I think it's those eccentricities in the character that make Gran stand out more than anything else. As a character, she comes across as a rebel in a way, but also very caring and understanding of her family. She's a self-aware character. She's self-aware about herself and other people in the story as well. And I just like her little twists she does with her everyday life, basically. I like the way she carries herself. I like the way she thinks of other people. I like just the little surprises she gives to her own family as well. Those eccentric moments with Gran stand out in this story, and they make her stand out in the book as well. So Connor in this story, and Connor is a character who's not part of the family, but he's been a friend of the family for many years. He's used very well in the book because he's a character that makes you think what if the most, the character that has the most doubt about him, and I like that in this story because he adds so much to the mystery. There's so much not darkness with Connor, but questions with Connor, and it makes you wonder about his character. Is he trustworthy or not? Is he truthful or not? And we learn more about his past in the story as well. And when we do, it makes you question about him now. What's he like now in present day? Is he like what he was as a child? Is he like his father, who we learn about in the story as well? So it's interesting, this character, because he's there for a special purpose. He's there to cast doubt, to ask questions about, to suspect in the story. So he's used very well, and the author injects him in the story at the right moments, and the author has used him in scenes, bringing him in certain scenes, taking him away in certain scenes so well in this book, because when I read Connor in this story, I had questions about him all the way through. So a very good character, a good standout in this story, and like every other character in this book, used so well. All I can say about this book is I loved the read so much. I rate it a 5 out of 5. Everything about it, characters, setting, plot, the structure, the mystery, this whole small footprint that's used to such great effect in the story, everything about it is just wonderful. I think all readers should read this. It's a great mystery, but it's also character driven, and those characters are just wonderful. There are twists and turns in the story, all the way through the story, I think, and there is great surprises in the story as well. A great story. I'm so glad I read it. I think it's basically almost a perfect book. On my channel, I review many mysteries. If you enjoy mysteries, check out my channel and subscribe. On the screen now is a link to a video for another book I'm sure you'll enjoy.